Hey, it's Dave from Bullpen Cycles, and we're here with our Cannondales, and we can properly call them Cannondales now. They're no longer cannon bombs. Now, when I reviewed these last time, you saw this one on the lift, and I explained all their faults and defects. Both of these, oh, this one you saw because it was making milkshakes, water and oil. These have both been properly updated by Black Widow ATV. He's outside of Atlanta, Georgia. You send him the motor, he'll send it back. In my case, I dropped them off and picked them up. So they should both be ready to go, and we're gonna take one of them for a ride, maybe both. But let's look these over first. This is, oh, I think this is an X440, which is the motocross one with lights hung on. They made an X440 and an E440. The E for enduro and the X for motocross. And I think the only difference is they might have a slightly different gear ratio in first gear. Here you have your reverse head. The original ones had a full ram air, which was a problem. The engine starved for air. Your intake is on the front. Öhlins suspension, aluminum backbone, oil in frame, which I think has its own problems. We'll tell you about that. This one has an aftermarket kickstand that I got from Dave Muller in Arizona. Dave Muller and Ken Deal. Dave Muller out of Arizona and Ken Deal out of Georgia. They have dedicated themselves to keeping these bikes alive. So you can still get parts and a lot of knowledge. That ATV people are zealous. They still race them. The motorcycle people, there's fewer of them. But they have a following. So this one has been updated with Dave Muller's fuel delivery system. Originally, this has the original quick disconnects in the gas tank, and they were restrictive. The fuel pump would starve for fuel and get hot and wear out. The fix for that is to drill the O-rings out of the quick disconnects. But if you do that, you will always get a little spilling of gas when you disconnect it. You have to disconnect the gas tank pretty often because that's how you get to the air box, the spark plug, and the battery. You disconnect the tank, lift it off the seat, and then you can service a lot of it underneath. Not a hard thing to do. This one has been converted to SM. Now they made an SM 440. I'm told they made 9 of them. And number 1 was just recovered out of Homestead, Florida. The number 1 SM 440 from Cannondale. Now, you've got to be OCD if you care about that. And a lot of us are, so some of us do. So now, SM, they put the wheels on it. And I don't think they changed the suspension at all, but a lot of people shorten the suspension. The SM suspension had a little bit of a different shock and probably some different internal valving. The seat height here, I'm going to do this. It's about 92 centimeters. And on the stock one, it's a centimeter or two taller. These are tall bikes. Let me show you.
This one, see if you can see it. This one's a little lower. They had to cut the end off the side stand to make it work, but it's still tall. I can handle this one okay. I've got a 30-inch inseam, so when I'm on these, both my feet are fully extended, and I can handle this barely. I tried to soften up the suspension to help it. That one's a little taller, which I guess is good if you're riding motocross and doing doubles and triples, but I can barely do singles. That one will probably throw me.
I softened up the suspension on both of these the most that I could. Oh yeah, here they have I wonder if you can see that. That's called a jumping post. Now I have a charging lead on it. I keep these bikes on a trickle charger all the time because the battery is undersized. And if you over crank it when it doesn't want to start, it will leave you sit. That's why they put the jumping post there. But note to engineer, if you got to put a jumping post as a backup to start your bike, you probably designed something wrong. I keep them on the trickle charger, and there's still a special way to start them. If it doesn't catch right away, don't force it. Be patient. But the first thing you do now, the real Supermoto I think had a key. None of these have a key. So the first thing I do is I hit the button once. I'm just trying to pressurize the fuel system. Now normally you hear the fuel pump go. I didn't hear it go. So I'm going to look at the fuel filter and see if it's flowing. And it's flowing. I heard the fuel pump that time. Now it should light. Now you don't touch the throttle. Now if you notice, that's idling a little fast, and that's how it's supposed to be. If you set the idle down low, it will be hard to start. That's how you set it. And you don't touch the throttle, and if it doesn't light right up, just hit it again. Don't crank the piss out of it. If you crank the piss out of it, you will weaken that undersized battery. I'm running a Motobat 7 amp. I think the Yuasa equivalent is a YTX 7L. I'm running the Moto, which is probably an MBTX 7U or something like that. And some people run lithium batteries. I'm not nuts about lithium batteries. I've had them cause problems themselves, and I don't want to risk a fire. This one, someone put a Leo Vinci slip-on exhaust. This exhaust is stock, but there's really no need. There's really no need for the Leo Vinci exhaust. Unless maybe they were trying to get a spark arrestor. Now let's see if this one goes. Tap. Looking at the fuel filter. I see it flowing. Now, hopefully it'll go. No, see, there you go. That's not good at all. It could be a little bit hydrolocked. They tend to drain into the engine bay when they sit. This has been sitting for
2 months, but it was on the triple charger. And that is not good. I'm not going to force it.
I guess it begs the question, what do you do to update these things? Well, first, you get rid of that crappy magnesium valve cover and you update the plastic impeller. You change the lower bearing out from a caged bearing to a needle bearing so it gets more positive lubrication. Oh, you update the mapping to the most current mapping and made it to whatever your exhaust or your riding application is, and probably a host of other things.
So let's see if we can get lucky twice in a row.
My maiden voyage on this thing since we put the motor in. Well, it's Sunday. No, it's Monday, Labor Day. So I guess it's okay to wake up the neighbors. Let me buzz the camera once or twice. Now they're probably going to call the cops on me. Go through the residential area. This bike is actually street plated. It's theoretically street legal. Now the Trail Tech has a dead battery in it. And I don't have turn signals. And I do have headlights. There's a switch down here. I think they're on. Yeah, it's tall, but I can handle this one. Woohoo! I don't even have mirrors on. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Oh, there's neutral. Well, neutral is easy to find. Okay, so the downside of these oil frames, especially in Florida, is you can literally burn your leg on them. Alright, so for more, we're going to have to go out of town. Or I'm going to have to put a license plate on it.
Man, that's just sick. Just sick. Hey, we're back with an epilogue, and maybe I rejoiced too soon. I don't know. But yeah, it was hydrolocked. What has it been? 5 months? 6 months since I ran it? You know what? It might have been longer. It might have been March, April, May, June, July, 5 months. Anyway, so when I started, it's gonna smoke like heck. I gotta burn all the oil out. What happens is the oil somehow accumulates in the head, ends up in the exhaust header, gets hot and smokes, and some of it might leak out this fitting here. But you'll get to hear it run. I gotta burn the smoke out of it. And the moral of the story is, run your bike periodically. Don't let it sit for 4 or 5 months. I still do that, hit the button once, even when it's warm. Cannondales.